Hello and welcome back to the Life of Genghis Khan campaign Abridged. Last time we started becoming the leader of our tribe, setting up a little camp, and having a mixed war with another tribe, the Merkits. We gained and lost territory and troops. We went on to have a more successful war against the Tartars to our east, stealing their capital in the process, and capturing a nice walled settlement on our frontier, which we'll now use for our next war against the Jadoran Mongols, the Mongol tribe led by our blood brother Jamuka. Here is that Tartar capital that we literally stole. We turned it into a horde and wheeled it back into our own territory, and now that it's in a decent enough position where it can trade with our other camps, we can click a button that turns it into a proper settlement. So there we have it, we've successfully gained ourselves a nice high population settlement, or relatively high for a Mongol camp, that is in a good position to be in our empire. So that's a nice little tactic, just wheel away the enemy's good settlements and put them where you want them in your own empire. Very nice. So we rode that place up to be in the trade network. And I thought I'd mention now that the way trade works, in case you don't know, is that you have to create scarcity. So what you tend to do is have one settlement create everything and the rest are completely devoid of any production buildings, so that there's a big market for stuff, there's scarcity everywhere else, and then your one settlement that has things sells it to the others, and that maximizes the amount of money you can make taxing trade. Learned the hard way the last time I played the game that just making things everywhere actually loses you tons of cash. You do need to go for the scarcity route. That's all going to happen in the background because it's not all that important. We'll focus on our military maneuvers right now, because I have moved out to go and attack the Jadoran Mongols. I haven't actually gained that many more troops since the end of the last part. I was pretty rapid about making this attack. So both sides here are about equal in terms of strength. However, I do have lots of officers who are good units, and there is a certain advantage we can gain by attacking the enemy while they're in a settlement, because as mentioned in the last part, you can get enemy units deleted if the settlement falls while they're in it. And to make a settlement fall, you only technically have to defeat one enemy unit in the enemy army, so this is fine to continue going on the offensive without any particular advantage, even though you might think otherwise. The first thing I'm doing is taking out a load of these tribal spears who are outside the settlement. I was hoping my men might just charge right on in and flatten them or something. It didn't really seem to happen. However, the spears did perform terribly in the fight and just get routed quite easily. There are also some civilians on the edge of the fight there, so we'll quickly kill them as well. And then, in the next turn, we focus everything we have here to go in and attack the settlement. We don't really have an advantage at all. It says the enemy have a big numerical advantage, but that's mainly because survivors of those spear units are coming in to attack again. Bad news though, as you can see, our guys have dismounted for the fight, so we lose the attacking power of our men. However, the enemy are also dismounted, and their army is also a whole load of horse archers. So it's going to be a battle between loads of dismounted horse archers, basically. And I guess it means there is even further advantage to attacking the enemy while they're in a camp, because if you do get a good day and your men remain mounted for the assault, as they sometimes do, as we saw in the last part, then you'll just flatten them, because I think when you're inside a town you're always dismounted even if you're a cav unit. Not quite sure about that. But yes, attacking the enemy in camps seems to be the way to go. Our men though are less enthusiastic. You can see they are having second thoughts about actually going in and doing it. The combat in this game is kind of weird and glitchy, but in this case it was actually a ruse, because while the enemy were distracted looking at me, a load of my guys seemed to emerge from the enemy's tents and cut them down. Very successful. And once we've killed one unit of their dismounted horse archers, we win and all the other units just disappear. So, as mentioned, it's kind of an exploit really. Just attack a settlement and make sure you can win a little bit, and then you'll just win overall. This doesn't work so well with walled settlements, but with these open camps like this, it's quite easy to do. And there we go, Jamuka and his army are deleted. We didn't really take that many losses at all, and we're going to steal their camp and its population to add to our nice scarcity network, force them to buy our pots, etc. We're not going to wait around. After that capture, in the very next turn I went on to try and attack the next Jadoran Mongol settlement, which was just a short distance away. They've got these little squads of spears hanging around, but we'll just trash our way through them. The enemy camp actually has no one in it right now, so if I'd given the right movement order, my men would just move in and capture it instantly, but I think I ordered them to stand just outside. So they moved to be on the edge of the camp, and now I'm going to have to spend another turn actually walking inside. Here though, we've got another mission. Apparently I've got some sort of grudge that I need to settle, and it's with the Naimans, who are really far away on the other side of our little tribe kingdom. So this is a problem, because it's kind of annoying to go over there. We've got like 30 turns to do it, but it's another case where it's going to take ages to actually get the attack together. And more to the point, I'm kind of going the other way in this campaign so far, and I don't want to be really inefficient by walking all the way to the other side to attack the Naimans and let our enemies on this side potentially build back up during that time. So, long story short, I'm just ignoring the mission, although we will come back to it a little bit later. So we carry on and capture that undefended camp and rout away a few more enemy units there. And things are going pretty well in this war. There are still more places to take from the Jadoran Mongols, but they don't appear to have any armies. Probably that one stack we trashed earlier was their force, so we'll just keep piling on through their territory. But that said, there is a threat to us militarily, but it's coming from elsewhere. The Merkits are at it again. They've brought an army down, and with me not paying any attention, they've captured a camp I made right next to my capital, so now they're in a very dangerous position. We don't really have any stuff here, but I can at least start putting up walls. They've already walled up our capital, so they can't instantly take it. That's good news. You can wall any camp, it just costs loads of money, especially for this point in the game, so I'm generally not doing it. We'll just throw out some troops and see if we can stop them. And in case you don't know, troops don't cost any money to recruit. You just have to pay their upkeep. And we do have surplus income, so we can afford to have more units in the field. Therefore, we'll put what we can together and form a little stack in this area to challenge the enemy if they keep advancing. And here's an addendum to my point about trade. In this area, the settlement Nalaik is where I'm producing all the goods, and you can see I'm setting up all the other settlements kind of in a ring around it, so they'll just sit there gradually grazing and gaining a bit of population, and then they'll buy things from the settlement that produces stuff, and that's how we get the cash. And that other place, that Delacan place, I can't read it on this preview, the town on the left on the screen just there, is going to be another one of those producing centres because it's surrounded by things. It doesn't have to be your own side's things either. Other factions' towns will trade with you, so just settlements that are in the middle of lots of towns are great places to be the only places in the world you're allowed to buy things, so you can monopolise various trading products. Anyway, our men are now on the way forward to the next Jadoran Mongol settlement. Some enemy units appear and go into the settlement, so they're going to defend it. However, they don't have enough men to actually defend all the breaches, so we actually just take it instantly on the old technicality, and their army is once again defeated. We are just absolutely trashing these guys. The settlement exploits are too powerful in this DLC campaign. There is, by the looks of the hexes, another Jadoran Mongol settlement over there to the east. We're forming this massive spit coming off our tribe's main territory, but might as well keep going. One thing we do need to do actually is clear up the mess in the area, because you can't recruit new units from a settlement for a while after you take it. So that means, while we're leaving everything undefended, these random single units of enemy tribal spears could actually go behind us and recapture our places. So I'm just spending some time splitting the army up and trying to take down some of those units. We get a message here saying that we've become so powerful that Temujin is now allowed to go and declare himself Genghis Khan, so it's about to happen. It mentioned something about an edict to make it official. Haven't talked about edicts so far. You've got this system where you can usually spend money to get some sort of buff. That also comes with a penalty. We'll talk about edicts if I ever actually use one. Well, I will at some point, I'm sure. None of them are particularly relevant to us right now. So yes, Temujin is going to gradually make his way back to the capital, because it says you have to go there before you can do the edict. That means we will have fewer men on the front line, but might as well keep going. In particular, there are some civilians in front of us, and we cannot allow civilians to survive, so we'll go after them, certainly. And if you were wondering what's happening back with the Merkits, well, they still haven't moved, and over time I've put together a somewhat substantial army here. So we do now have our border defended. We've probably also just about finished the walls on the nearby settlement as well, so the Merkits' lack of aggression not helping them there. But the thing to remember is the AI can't necessarily see your territory, just like we can't see into their territory, so perhaps the Merkits don't know that my empire is completely undefended and one unit could probably take all of it if they really tried. Anyway, we carry on into Jadoran Mongol territory and find some more settlements to attack. But in the Merkit turn, here's an interesting offer. They want peace. I have to pay them for it, but I was quite happy to pay a couple of hundred to get a peace deal with them, because that's going to settle that issue on the border quite nicely. It also reveals that we're now allowed to talk to them. You may remember I mentioned we can't talk to many factions, and that's because the game's waiting for a story event to happen and we can't ruin things before then. So I guess the Merkits are done in the story, we're allowed to be friends with them now. I can also now talk to my ally, and I'm going to become even more allies with them by making the Harmony Pact, which just reduces the chance that they'll betray us, because we definitely want those guys to stay on our side because they're in really compromising positions for our empire. And here's the reason getting that peace with the Merkits was so good. I can disband my stack and make absolutely tons of money as a result. And that's easily going to make me back the money I spent on the peace deal. So it's a pretty good investment. I think we're now going to be quite rich quite soon by just having our massive territory undefended, and hopefully that's okay because our only enemies are right here at the end of our little spit. We do see more enemy units now. There is an army nearby and the enemy's capital, but we're going to carry on to at least capture the next settlement because it's completely undefended. Temujin, on his way home, is being harassed by more of these remnants of the enemy forces. I think there's even one full unit of spears wandering about here, which is super dangerous, but once they're quite far behind the front line, I can just recruit one unit of spears of my own, or even two if I'm feeling really fancy, and stop them from taking any camps. That does rely on me actually noticing them approaching. That's my main weakness as a player. I'm probably not even going to see if the enemy start taking my camps back there, because I don't pay any attention. But yes, in this case, Temujin just kills them all, so we're fine. Now this next place that we've just captured is really unhelpful to us. It's so far out on a limb, and it's not worth very much money to sack it, that I'm going to go with the third option here. You can destroy any settlement you take and it just disappears. That's the end of that. But with the Mongols, there is an added bonus. They've got this mechanic where whenever they destroy a settlement, nearby settlements become terrified. They think you're going to do the same thing to them, and this gives a unstated random probability that if you send a unit to those towns, they'll just surrender and instantly become your town. So you can use that to go terrorize the Chinese to the south by killing a few of their settlements and then getting the rest to surrender. That's the idea. We will try that out as we go along. In this case, I do want to just normally attack the enemy settlement, so I've brought up some reinforcements. I've been recruiting the odd unit from all the places we've taken recently, and I've got half a stack together. So combined with the half a stack, or even more than half a stack there, that I still have pushing on from our initial rush into the enemy territory, we now have a substantial force with which to go and finish the enemy off. I do manage to make a hash of this because I'm a bad person. What I tried to do was unify my armies together into one stack, but do it on the tile next to the enemy, which wasn't a terribly good idea, because what ended up happening was my main force stopped before joining this fight, and the reinforcements ended up in contact with the enemy. So one of my reinforcement groups got taken downtown right there by the enemy, a big defeat, but doesn't really matter because now everything will unify on the tile that has the enemy army on it, and that will trigger a battle with all of our units able to participate, and that's going to be more like it. You might know, by the way, that in this game you can go into detail and change what individual units in your army will do in battle. You can change their tactics. But my recommendation from my, I don't know, only like 30 hours playing the game, is that never trying to change it is the best option. Whenever I've tried to micromanage and come up with plans, it kind of leads to your units just doing weird things and generally not fighting the enemy, which causes all sorts of problems. So I do just leave it off, and you get battles like this. It's just units ploughing into each other all over the place. Can't really tell what's going on, especially on the ground level, because all of the units look very similar. But basically, the enemy army is getting surrounded, is getting distracted, and getting taken down. So we do win that fight. Now we've got another mission that's appeared. The game's suggesting we go and attack the Xisha, which is a Chinese settled faction down to the southwest. So that could make us some money if we want to do that. We've got a less optional and closer to home mission though as well, so that's what we'll focus on. This other Mongol tribe, the Tei Uchiud or something, can't remember what they're called. In my head I call them the Green Guys, so let's call them the Green Guys. The Green tribe that is right next to us has declared war on us. You can see them there. They've got this city. I've been calling it Onion River in my head. It's something like that. So Onion River and their green army are coming at us, and they're positioned in a great spot for an offensive because they can attack all of my undefended settlements. So we will need to actually react to this. We can also storm the Jadoran Mongol capital. There's nothing in there, and their army is now across a river, so we can just take it freely. I also at this stage got peace with the Tartars. We've been at war with them since very near the start of the game, but I decided to peace out of that war because the game finally let me talk to them, and just not being at war with them will be handy. We can always just go back on the deal later if we do want to go down to the southeast and take them out, but not for now. What I will be doing is spamming out more troops. I'm making a military centre in that walled place we took from the Tartars a while back. Right now all I can do is recruit generic horse archers because I don't have the proper buildings set up, but a spammed stack of generic horse archers should be all we need. And the only other thing we need to remember is to have at least 1 or 2 units in each of our border settlements so the enemy can't just throw a single horse archer unit out there and take our stuff. That's easy enough to set up because we've now got political control over all the camps we captured. Our guys go in to capture the Jadoran capital. They actually spawned a new faction leader or something on the inside, so we did have to fight someone to get in. But once I had 2 breaches, we win by default, and in we go to take it easily. We've also now got our troops together for the battle against Onion City. They didn't do anything in their turn, they've just got these guys awkwardly standing out there. So it's time for us to go and attack them. Really, these green guys are in trouble because we've got so much money right now, we can easily just spawn 2 armies instantly and go steamrolling. And they can't by the looks of things, so we are going to go down hard on them. Now I came back to thinking about this Naiman mission. Things are going quite well, and I was thinking, well, I could actually go and try and do this, but I still don't really want to, especially because I had the feeling that I should have already left in order to do it by now before the time limit runs out. But I thought, well, let's try something, because technically the mission just says attack the Naimans. So you want me to attack the Naimans? I will. We're going to do this in a nice classic OffiD cheeky move. Going to recruit 1 unit and just send them over to go and have a suicide charge against the enemy so that I have then attacked the Naimans, perhaps settling whatever this grudge was. So we'll come back to those guys a very long time later once they eventually find a route there. The terrain turns out to be really treacherous, so it is quite hard to actually get over there, but maybe in the next part we'll see how they're doing. As for the Onion City troops, well, in this battle they were already dead by the time I actually brought the camera down to see what was going on. I think we just absolutely spammed arrows at them and they got taken out. So yes, it's becoming evident that these green guys don't really have an army other than the guys we just killed, so we can just press against them and go hard on their settlement. They're now setting up on a hill with their horse archers, so potentially they get some sort of hill advantage here. Not sure if there is that in the game, but there is projectile line of sight. Your projectiles only do damage if they actually hit, so the fact they're on the back side of the hill helps the enemy out. We're also killing the survivors of the Jadoran army up near their capital. It was an annoying river battle, but sheer numbers allowed us to win without really paying any attention as usual. Now we're set up with 2 stacks here ready to go against Onion City. However, these guys come over with a peace deal. It was a bit cheeky at first. I was like, you want me to give you some territory in a peace deal while I'm clearly winning the war? But it turns out that if you scroll down here, they're also offering to surrender and be my vassal, so that's part of the deal. I was very happy to make them my vassal, but this deal is kind of messy, so we're going to clear it up. We're going to remove the territory and money and just say, I won't kill you and you become my vassal. A simple peace deal, and the enemy do accept that, so they are not the enemy anymore. Now, while I could have easily taken their territory, making them a vassal gives you various advantages, because now they don't contribute to my settlement cap, but they still contribute to the victory conditions and victory points, and I think maybe they give you some money as well, not quite sure. So it's just nice to have vassalized factions, especially when you're getting big and getting towards the settlement cap, as I am now. Plus, I can disband the nearby army to make some cash. As for this other army, if I disband it, the units will die rather than disband because we're not in our own territory. That means you have to wait like 10 or so turns for them to respawn in their settlements before you can raise them again, which might have been fine in this case, but I am going to send them back to allied territory first, just to be safe. Here I'm trying to finish off the Jajoran Mongol army, and we finally do it when we press them up against the edge of the map and they despawn, so that goes quite well. We also get some handy intel apparently from our new vassals. They're being nice to me. Not sure what that intel was, but it wasn't anything I used. Anyway, what I was looking for there was some confirmation that the Jajoran Mongol faction had been destroyed. Now I'd taken out that officer who was one of their family members, I think. But no message comes up, and it does tell you if they get taken down. This means our enemy is still out there somewhere, and it will turn out later on. They have various really cheeky settlements in locations both near and far, so we'll be seeing them again eventually. Now at this stage in the campaign, we're actually not really at war with anyone. We don't have any immediate enemies, so it's going to be a bit of a period where I just sit around gathering cash. We can disband units, get loads of money, and use that cash to set up more of these production centres. I'm making Ulaanbaatar, one of the places I captured recently, into another one to provide all of the goods for all of these captured places and make us a whole load more money off that. So that means there's going to be a lot of me just sitting here ending turn for a while. So we shall end this part right here and rejoin the action once we mobilise again to continue Genghis's legacy, and once I remember to actually make him the Khan. He's back at the capital by this point, but for a very long time I forgot about the thing where you had to issue an edict to actually become Genghis Khan. I'll remember at some point, which is generally the theme of all of my Abridged campaigns, isn't it? Anyway, so we'll keep forcing our new captives to buy our pottery from Ulaanbaatar, get rich, and go kill someone else next time.